Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are back here for some match week 9 reviews on this windy, dark evening in my ends, at least, joined by Mark and Cam. Mark, who is no doubt very much wanting his bed, so we'll have to make sure we whiz through before he's after his snoozes. Cam joining us for the first time in a few weeks. Cam, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. The managerial search is on for my boys, Wolves. So, yeah, constantly refreshing Twitter, I guess, the next few days until we hear something. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mr.
Gary
Broadhurst,
O'Neill all the way, I'd say. Gary O'Neill all the way.
He confirmed that he turned us down half an hour ago, Mark. So
did he? No, yeah. I mean, it's not getting much worse than that, to be honest.
No, yeah. If we're getting turned down by Gary O'Neill, then who is next? That is the question.
Yeah. I think me and Rory can do a duo act, maybe, or something like that. You know?
Yeah. The Bundesliga show takeover. Yeah.
It's a bit more of a commute for you, Mark, isn't it, rather than me, at least.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, Mark, you've been on your travels as well. You've covered a lot of ground across the Bundesrepublik in the last 8 days. Just run us through what your travels have been like. Sounds pretty exhausting.
Oh, I can barely even remember where I am right now, to be honest with you. It's been so many different hotel rooms, different places, just here, there, and everywhere, basically. Yeah. But we started off in Hessen, over in Frankfurt. Then we went over to Kaiserslautern to see K-Town versus Nuremberg, which is obviously a match that's close to Peter and I's heart. Then we came back over to Bavaria to see Fürth, also against Kaiserslautern in the Pokal. Then we headed, where did we go? We headed south to Augsburg to see the Friday night curtain raiser of this match week. Then we finished off back in Hessen to see Darmstadt Bielefeld as well, which was probably the game of the time as well. That was a hell of a match with a great atmosphere as well. So we've been here, there, and everywhere, but it's been a great time. And check out the upcoming vlogs as well for that, which we should have for most, if not all, of the games as well.
Yeah, well, coming to a screen near you, so make sure you watch out for that. So yeah, sit back and enjoy with us. Yeah, we'll be going through all the big talking points and results from match week 9, and we'll always, as per, finish off with a couple of quick fire European predictions for the upcoming week ahead. Good evening to you, left-footed. Happy Monday indeed to all you German footy fans out there. And then, yes, if you can do, leave a like, comment along, whether it's live or subsequently, saying how your team's got on. I know there'll be a lot of very happy Gladbach, Koeln, Leipzig fans who we all are good friends with. So I'm sure there'll be some comments coming in from there, and subscribe to the channel, of course. But yeah, I think it's time to crack on with match week 9, chaps. It feels like only one place that we should start, and therefore we're going to start with the first win of the season for Borussia Mönchengladbach, a 4-0 whitewash against St. Pauli in Hamburg. This, chaps, of course, was a huge game for the Foals to try and kickstart something in terms of their season. There was a lot of pressure on it. And they duly delivered. Obviously, they got a bit of a helping hand initially from Vasil, setting up Tabakovic's the first of his 2 goals. We've got to talk about him shortly as well. I'm sure you both want to have your say on Haris Tabakovic, who's been a bit of a running joke so far. Bless him on the show for his efforts. Striking wise this season and even last season. But yeah, he came, absolutely turned up. The second half was, more of the same, really. Some great counterplay from Gladbach. But start off with you, Cam. I think one thing that I found very much straight from the off with this game, which I think was a very smart move for Gladbach, was that less of the dicing with danger, overplaying in their own half, and the very clear tactic to go long, stretch the St. Pauli defence, get them turned, get Frankie on the ball and whipping in crosses, and it seemed to pay dividends in the end. So it was a great way of playing, and it really not so might have shocked Pauli, but overall it put them on the front foot, which I think was a really smart move.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they've learned their lesson. I mean, you mentioned it yourself, and I noticed a stark difference compared to the Pokal game against Karlsruhe on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? But in the first half, it was just, they kept playing into, you're at home against a second division opposition, but they kept playing into their hands. There was an awful back pass from Machino that Karlsruhe should have capitalised on, but didn't. And the second half, they came out and it wasn't pretty to watch. There was a lot of long balls. It wasn't, the beautiful football that they have played in the last few years. And even at times last season, they were playing some pretty nice stuff. But I use it a lot on here on this podcast about common sense football. And it seems that they've gone back to basics and it worked against St. Pauli. I mean, the defending from St. Pauli was comical at times. I'm sure we'll speak about them shortly in terms of how they've regressed since the season's opening days. But yeah, very much back to basics for Gladbach, and it worked a treat. I don't think it was a 4-0 game in terms of on paper. Should it have finished 4-0? Maybe not. But you take these results and you take these scorelines when you can, and a massive first win.
Yeah, Mark, is this the start of the resurrection for Gladbach? And if it is it going to be, are Gladbach therefore going to allow Polanski to lead the resurrection, or do you feel it was a perfect scenario of circumstances coming together? I think we have to give Gladbach a lot of credit, and we should do it to individuals as well. But do you think it was a case of Polanski just falling on something good rather than him being the man to lead Gladbach forward for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that Gladbach won this game. To be honest, I tipped it on Thursday. I just feel as though ultimately they've got better players than Pauli. But as you say, I mean, I think the fact that they went long and found Honorat so often was the key in this game. I mean, Honorat, who's had a pretty weak start to the season, this was like the kind of rebirth of him, so to speak. I thought he had a much better game, was kind of dominating that left wing really position, wasn't he, and just tearing Pauli apart really down there. As for Polanski, to be honest, I always thought that they would wait until the next international break, which is kind of typical for German teams. I always thought that they would wait for then and then find a replacement. And I guess there will be things going on in the background as well. I still don't think this result alone is enough for Polanski to get the job on a permanent, but maybe I think he will get one more game next week. And if they can win that one as well in a good way, then who knows? Maybe if there's no better option out there, it is vaguely possible. I think as for the game, as you say, it was a terrible error from Vasily, which is worrying because it's the second time in 2 weeks that he's made a horror error. We were there to see his error against Frankfurt, and he's done it again this week. And I mean, Vasily is the definition of consistent normally, isn't he? I mean, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the Bundesliga before this last 2 weeks, I would say, really, probably the top 3 or 4 keepers in the league, really. I think he was a big part of the reason why Pauli stayed up last season, and he was a big part of their fast start this season as well. But to say it's fallen apart for them is an understatement. I mean, obviously, we watched them live the other week, and while they look a compact side, or they did on that particular day, they just don't have any goal threat at the minute at all. Like, that particular day, they started Huntonji, Kars and Lager all up front, and they barely created a thing the whole match, apart from the offside goal. And this game wasn't much better, truth be told. Obviously, in this particular match, they changed it round a little bit. They put Afolayan up top and also Sinani as a kind of number 10, but it just didn't work at all, basically. And I felt as though they were really poor, to be honest. I think Saliakis at the right wing-back position continues to be a liability for them as well. He's had quite a poor season, truth be told. Yeah, I am worried about Pauli right now. I really am, because obviously we gave them so much credit early doors, especially you and I, Rory. We were really raving about them. But 7 goals in the first 3 games, and they followed that up with just 1 in 6 in the Bundesliga, which is just in a run of 6 straight defeats as well. And I think Peter and I over the weekend, we were discussing like how long does Blessing get even now? Because I mean, they stayed up last season on 32 points. We do know that they had a big turnover in the summer. Obviously, they lost a number of key players. The guys they brought in were mostly on a budget, but by Pauli standards, a little bit of money was spent. I think they brought in cars from Magdeburg for, what was it, 4 or 5 million, which in their world is like 50 million for
That's
anyone
a lot of
else,
money, yeah.
basically. So it was a big money signing. It's not really worked out so far. I think some of the players they brought in have done okay. I think Oppi has still been fine, really. I think he's done well. I think Sands has done quite well too. And Huntonji has just dropped off a cliff edge really recently.
That's where it's strange, because him and Pereira Large started fantastically this season, didn't they? I remember the game that they ripped Hayes Foul to shreds, didn't they?
They did.
In the derby. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of what you said about Blessing, I think last season he was brought in to fight the fires, wasn't he? With Herzler leaving before the season, just after promotion. Yeah. You know, it's never an ideal time to take over a club, was it? Because really, safety was the main goal. And he played some decent stuff at some of his ex-clubs, and then I guess we're expecting that to really manifest itself for St. Pauli this year, and it looked as if it was. But since that since the loss against Stuttgart, really things have just gone down and down and down, haven't they? We talk about that goal threat. I mean, last season the goal threat wasn't there at all. I think Morgan Gilavogi was their top scorer with 6. And, you know, we're all looking forward to him this season, hopefully kicking on. But it just, recent weeks, there's no goal threat, as you say, Mark. Yeah, and even defensively, considering how good they were defensively last term, they seem to have lost that as well.
Not ideal to lose you defending when you can't score. No goals in over 400 minutes of football now, because the last goal they scored was against Leverkusen in the 32nd minute of that match when they lost 2-1. Gladbach obviously now ending that horrible winless run, which obviously stretched into the last season of 15. That's now over. And I think, you know, for our good friends, Boston Gladbach, who always gives us a lovely message on Instagram, we're really excited about the win. So, you know, congrats to them and to everyone involved in Gladbach. Just want to give flowers to a couple of players. I think we have to just say Haris Tabakovic, you know, he's got the same amount of goals as Guirassy and Asllani this season. And like, you know what, we have to give him credit, because, you know, the goals that he scored, you know, obviously one's from a mistake and the other one's, a decent enough finish from close in. But his all-round game for this and recently, he's been leading the charge for Gladbach. And, you know, come in as a Klein Dienst replacement on short notice. He won the most duels, I think, in the game. He was all over the pitch. He was covering ground. Obviously, he's assisting as well. So I think that's fantastic to see. I think he played an outstanding game. I think, Mark, someone you were begging for to come back, Ulreich at fullback. He played pretty well also. So things connected quite well for Gladbach, and they made the most of a really disjointed, poor Pauli side. Like you mentioned, the players there, Mark, Sinani, Lage, and Afolain. I think they were all subbed at half time, weren't they? There was a triple change, I believe. Obviously, for Blessing trying to change things. On the point of how much time does he get? I don't feel like it's. I know you can't lose 5-6 games of football and not be under pressure, but I don't think it's a conversation piece I would entertain just yet. But given how tight the bottom of the division is, it's also quite scary, isn't it? Because there's a lot of teams in it right now, and we'll talk about more of them shortly. We'll move things on. But yeah, great win for Gladbach. They're off the mark, and they'll be feeling a lot better about themselves for sure. It's just whether we see that kind of recovery continue or not. We want to now next talk about the game, which was the two newly promoted sides facing off against each other. And we'll get to your moment of madness, as you've mentioned, Saad, in the comments about the double booking for Farai in the second half. We'll work our way into that one because there's some really strange moments from HSV in the second half, particularly. But I mean, for this one straight away, I guess interesting points of team changes. Again, Kvasniok making certain big decisions in terms of Elmala benched again, Florian Kainz making his first start of the season, all seemingly decisions that he's made and have gone well. Obviously it was just the one goal in the first half before it went Akker in the second. Speaking of Akker, it was Ragnar Ake who scored the goal of the first half. Player who had a pretty good game overall. Again, all over the pitch, winning duels. He tapped home after Hoya Fernandez played Sambi Lukonga into trouble, and Koeln almost messed it up, but luckily Ake was there to make it 1-0. Denmark, the second half. Florian Kainz showed his class from the dead ball. There's a lovely free kick goal to put FC in control. But do you want to walk us through the rest of what was a really crazy finish to the game? HSV putting themselves back in a position to potentially do some kind of comeback, but wasn't to be, was it? A mad finish to that game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Merlin Paulsen was furious at the end of the game after just about everything went against his side in this one. I mean, it was an absolute sickener, really. I mean, obviously, first of all, the disallowed goal for Vieira, the Arsenal low knee as well. So,
brilliant strike.
I mean, that was a millimetre offside. It didn't even look offside. It was one of them where if it wasn't for VAR, no one would have seen anything really there. You know, when they drew the line across to Ryan Philippe, it was given offside, who provided what would have been the assist. I mean, it was just an absolute sickener, really. Then obviously, Dompe did get the goal as well for 2-1. He's been a revelation since he came back into the side. I mean, it was a bit of a shock that he wasn't playing in the first place, really. And it was a really nicely improvised finish from him for 2-1.
Do you think it was a cross or a shot?
Well, I think initially I thought it was a shot, to be honest. I'm giving him a shot. Yeah, a cross shot, let's say it was a cross.
Okay. Fair enough.
You're not convinced, guys.
I'm not convinced the way it goes in.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there on that one. Yeah. Obviously it's 2-1. HSV have had that goal very unfortunately disallowed as well, haven't they? But it's and then they get a second goal disallowed too, don't they? They get the second one disallowed at 2-1, which is just a sickener, really. Sorry, I'm getting it the mixed up way. I described the second one that was disallowed. The first one that was disallowed was even narrower, wasn't it? It was given for a foul, actually, that one, which in my view wasn't really a foul, to be honest. I thought it was a little bit harsh. It was like a foul / handball. Then they were checking the offside, and I felt as though that one was harsh. It was actually the second disallowed goal that was just millimetres offside for Ryan Philippe on the crossover for Vieira. So that would have been 2-2. Obviously, HSV were feeling a little bit hard done to after two pretty harshly disallowed goals. I mean, even if one of them counts, it's 2-2, you know. I mean, normally you would get one of them to count on a good day. Then obviously they just kind of let anger, like red mist, descended over them, basically, didn't it? For me, though, I've got to be honest, the first red card was harsh. I mean, I think he slipped in my eyes.
Yeah.
I think it was obviously very, very rainy in Koeln, as it has been for pretty much the last 2 weeks, non-stop, all over Germany. And I can vouch for that. I think everywhere we went was raining over this last 10 days or so. But for me, he just slipped on the grass, basically, and he's gone into the defender. For me, it's not a yellow card. He doesn't need to book him for that, really. Obviously, he's off. It's his second booking in just 3 minutes as well. So it's a very, very harsh double yellow sending off. Then just a few minutes after that, Vieira, it was his second red card in just 5 games. He's off for like supposedly chatting back to Daniel Schlager, the referee. So, I mean, by this point, I mean, if you're a HSV fan, you're going to be absolutely furious, aren't you? I mean, some people would argue all 4 of the decisions were harsh. I mean, we don't know exactly what Vieira said, but I mean, a lot of players don't get booked these days for back chatting, do they?
Yeah,
I mean, you see it all the time, don't you? Like back chatting.
So inconsistent, the ruling on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the punishments.
And I think obviously you've got to think that Haas foul. I mean, they've had a lot go against them in the game, so you would have thought he would have let it slide, you know. And obviously, as he's walking off the pitch, you just can't believe it. Like they had to practically drag him off the pitch. The guy's absolutely furious. So basically, 4 decisions really, many of which you would say were 50-50 in many ways. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, even if 2 of those decisions go your way, you've got a chance of getting something from that game, haven't you? But when all 4 go against you, I mean, we've all seen it, guys, you know, when our teams have you feel as though they've been absolutely robbed by the referee. And I can understand that Haas foul are annoyed. I mean, for me, all 4 of the decisions were kind of like 50-50 in many ways. But even if half of them go your way, you know, you're getting probably a point from the game. But as it happened, down to 9 men. And even then, Haas foul had a bit of quality in them. They had a couple of half chances. And I think Kwasniok at the end of the game, he actually gave them credit. He gave Haas foul credit at how well they played with 9 men too. And I think Haas foul played really well. I think both teams played well in this game, actually. It didn't look like a game between 2 promoted sides to me. I think there was a lot of quality in it from both sides. And then obviously the kind of clincher in the end, it was Kaminsky obviously playing the ball into Elmala, who normally it's him that's doing all the jinking runs and he plays it in for someone else, but it was obviously the opposite way around this time. And Elmala got yet another goal. I mean, nobody really knows why he doesn't start games, but I guess maybe he just sees him as like a kind of guy to run at a tiring defense. But I mean, he's got a hell of a record considering he doesn't start games. You know, I think that's 3 goals and 2 assists, and he's only started 1 match this season. So very, very good.
He even scored in that one that he started, didn't he? That was against Hoffenheim.
Yeah, he did. He did against Augsburg, I think it was. Yeah. But
was it Hoffenheim?
What a player! And then obviously it got even worse, didn't it, for the away side? They got a scrappy fourth, really, where they couldn't get the ball clear. But what do you think, guys? Do you agree with me that they were all kind of a little bit 50-50 and Haas foul a little bit hard done to everyone go against them there?
I would say I'm mostly in agreement with you, Mark. I think my issue with VAR since it came into domestic football, was it 2019, really, around that time, is that it can often feel like referees are trying to find an issue with something. Yeah, I've always been of the view that if you slow football down to the speeds in which they do, you can often find something wrong with most phases of play. That was the case for both disallowed goals in the Koeln game. The Vieira incident, I mean, I'm for players getting booked for backchatting to the referee, but it's the consistency that needs to be important. The fact that we see so many players get away with it week in and week out, particularly when they're sort of bigger personalities that play for bigger clubs, they tend to get away with it. But then in a match like that yesterday, it really takes the game away from Hamburg. After, to be fair, like you mentioned, the challenges before for the first red card. Yet again, 50-50, a bit silly, a bit reckless, but also the weather, the fact he did slip. But then the Vieira one, it just irritates me because there's no consistency. Whereas if there was that consistency, players wouldn't backchat to the referee in the first place, would they?
Yeah,
pretty much. And we've obviously got the ruling about these days the captain being able to speak to the referee, being the first point of contact, whether that's something about it. Certain referees being more strict on that. I think my view on the Farai one is, I think when you know you're on a yellow card, playing in those conditions, and you're like he's obviously gone to make a challenge because he wants to win the ball back. So the slip's obviously unfortunate, but he's also got to take into his own brain cells. Right, I'm on a yellow card here. It was in the the defensive half. It wasn't like the ball was in.
He's not going anywhere, is he?
It's one of those where I just let him go on this occasion and I'll work back. So maybe a bit, of work to do and kind of making decisions there as well. But yeah, great win for FC. That they keep on marching on, up into the dizzy heights of they back into 7th place now, Kwasniok's, as we've mentioned about El Mala being benched or not, it seems to be working for him. The XG of this game might be a bit skewed, I guess, but I mean 4.54 for Koeln versus 1.4 for HSV. 24 shots in total for Koeln with 11 on target. Feels like one where they did deserve it, albeit coming out of some interesting circumstances as well. Just want to pick out a couple of comments as well from DM saying happy Monday, and a comment about Wolfsburg as well. I will come to that very soon because that's the next game we're going to talk about. So we can absolutely pick that one up. Saad saying it was a cross all day. So Mark, you're three against one now, sadly.
Come on.
But it looked good, but I just don't know if he meant it or not. Saad also saying excellent point in terms of the lack of football knowledge as refs are slowing down replays. Yeah, we see it. We do see it too much, don't we? So yeah, I think that covers the battle of the new boys. But I think both can't be too upset with the way that they played the game, as I think you said, Mark. So yeah, we'll move on to another exciting Sunday game as Wolfsburg took on Hoffenheim in a game that I guess not many people gave the home side much of a sniff. Hoffenheim are an excellent away side. Obviously, that trend continues because they won the game in the end. Wolfsburg have been absolutely nowhere for quite a while now, and they look, really under pressure. Obviously, as is head coach Simonis. So DM picking up on your comment saying, I watched my first Wolfsburg game this season. Does the club have any fans? The stadium looks half empty. It's a bit of a sad truth, isn't it, Mark? The Wolves have been struggling to get people in the stadium for a long while. It obviously doesn't give off a great impression, sadly, and also a reason why I guess they struggle at home because the atmosphere is somewhat lacking, I guess.
To be fair, I mean, the atmosphere yesterday wasn't helped by the fact that Hoffenheim don't travel well, do they?
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't a good advert. I think I said to Peter on Thursday. I mean, I don't know why they put this kind of game on TV because it's like Germans don't watch these kind of games at all. They almost kind of boycott them from the TV, basically. And as you say, that the crowds for some of these company clubs is just not good, basically. And in a league where they can get 70,000 in the second division, as we saw at Hertha versus Dresden, with 30,000 away fans at that game. I mean, when you see teams like Wolfsburg and Hoffenheim in the league, I mean, you can understand why a lot of Germans and also international fans are kind of annoyed about that, I mean, you could argue that, you're there on merit, you're there based on the club, but also these clubs are not really 50+1 clubs as well. That's the other problem. So they got backers basically just throwing in tons of money from Volkswagen and SAP. So you could argue they're not even really there on merit as well. I mean, obviously that is a controversial opinion. Some people would say they absolutely are, but I mean, when you see teams like Kaiserslautern, Hertha Berlin, Nuremberg, who get double or even triple the crowds that some of these company clubs do. And I mean, they would represent the Bundesliga a lot better in Europe as well. It is a pity. But as for the game, I mean, it was a good match, to be honest. I mean, you've got to give Hoffenheim a lot of credit for how they're playing, Rory, haven't you? I mean, they've got a good team. What did you make of that? Do you think they deserve the win, or do you think Wolfsburg were a bit unlucky there?
Well, I think the problem with Wolfsburg is that I couldn't really have any issues with that starting 11. I felt that the starting 11 for Wolfsburg looked about right. Dagim and Amura, players of high quality came to the fore for them. Some nice finishes from Amura is the best we've seen of him for a little while. Having that class in the midfield of Maxi Arnold and Christian Eriksen. You saw the nice touch that Eriksen played for the first goal that then led to the assist. I can't remember who got the assist for the first goal for Amora. Might have been Svanberg. But then you have but then you've got Svanberg, who can then move around through midfield a bit more freely because he's got more about him in terms of legs. And the defense obviously is a bit more of a worry from a Wolfsburg point of view. But I think Vavro is in the squad for the first time this season, or since the first Pokal match. Getting him back in the team will be really important, I think. But one also player that returned from injury that stole the game, or two midfielders that stole the game, were obviously on the TSG side of things, was Grisha Prumel playing his first Bundesliga start in 14 months or something daft like that because of injury. Having him back was a massive plus to go alongside Wouter Burger, who had a great game, scoring some lovely goals, kind of flicks into the net. So for Hoffenheim, Mark, it was more the midfield that outshone what has been the star kind of performers, which is Aslani, Lemperle, Toure, etc. They've been the ones who've been getting all the credit. Kramaric came on at half-time for Aslani, played really well in the second half. So it's more those kind of experienced players, I felt, that came to the fore for Hoffenheim this time around, which has obviously not been the case. But Cam, that speaks to say that this Hoffenheim squad is more and more complete than we realise every week, because, you know, if their strikers can't do it, they've got this midfield to back it up, and then they've got Kufal, who's scored one goal, got 3 or 4 assists as well. Bernardo, so they're looking good, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll let Cam take this one. Go on.
Sorry, I thought I heard my name. I thought I heard my name.
Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Yeah, it's
it's the Monday tiredness for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's the vlogging tiredness, I think, more than anything.
It's such a difference compared to last season when you're looking at Hoffenheim, because when I was down in Freiburg and watched them in the Baden Duel derby, whatever you want to call it, last season, and they were so poor, just square pegs in round holes, relying on moments of magic from Kramaric that were few and far between, and really what was a poor team. But now that they've got a really nice balance, as you mentioned, the experience and a bit of squad depth, that it's not just the moments of magic from the likes of Aslani, who was amazing last season in the second division and has took to the Bundesliga like a duck to water. And then Basil Manatore, who is so exciting to watch. Didn't get on the score sheet yesterday, but even then, he's just somebody that can make a difference in the final third, something that really wasn't the case for Hoffenheim last season. And yeah, the legs in midfield, Wouter Burger, who, to be fair, was dismal in the championship for Stoke, but again, came in and done a job. And I'm really liking this team, as much as, you know, we do give the club some stick on this show. That what I'm seeing on the pitch at the moment is a well-organised team. It's a team with a bit of fight about it and some decent quality in the final third, which I think is something that they've been lacking for far too long now.
Absolutely. Just want to come to a couple of comments from Ballon. Hope you're enjoying the show. First of all, asking Cam, you're a member of any German team? I think we can reveal your dedication to the mighty VfB is true and strong.
Yeah, well, I'm unfortunately not a member myself, but yeah, if my allegiance was to anybody in Germany, it would be VfB Stuttgart. That is where I sort of split my time living between there and the West Midlands in the UK at the moment. Hopefully moving full time to Stuttgart in around May, June next year. So
magic, that's lovely stuff. Interesting question here: which current Bundesliga manager would fit Wolverhampton? Would you reckon would speak a nice bit of Wolverhampton lingo?
Yeah, well, I mean, my girlfriend is also German, and they don't understand when I speak in my proper West Midlands accent, Black Country accent, as we call it. Yeah, they haven't got, it's not the best. But in terms of German managers for Wolves, I actually jokingly mentioned a few weeks ago in the group chat talking about Alexander Blessing when we were discussing whether Vitor Pereira should have been sacked. And I actually don't know, because the question is who would want to come to Wolves at the moment. I mean, we've been turned down by Gary O'Neill in the last hour. So the question is out there as to who would want to take this job. I don't see any manager currently in the Bundesliga who would want to. If you asked me 6 months ago, I would have said Ole Werner, but that ship has very much sailed now, with him flying with Leipzig. So yeah, and I don't know any Portuguese. I'm just reading the question again.
Obrigado.
Yeah, obrigado. Bom dia, I know that, and then I have to know German, obviously, but splitting my time between there in the Midlands. Yeah,
there we go.
A question full of a lot of things, really.
Yeah,
very multifaceted.
Some great questions there, Ballum. We love it, and we'll certainly come to the Bayern match very soon for you as well. But we'll move on to our kind of last more focused game, which was the Leipzig match against the Stuttgart, a game of two teams very much in great nick, good form in the league, particularly. And yeah, second versus third at the time on Saturday afternoon. Always was going to be a game where potentially two teams maybe cancelled each other themselves out, Mark. Certainly it felt like the case going towards halftime, but the man who made the biggest difference in this game, the most exciting player one of the most exciting players in the league at the moment, Jan Diomande, really stepped up to strike twice effectively very quickly, but either side of the half, really big blows in terms of when they were scored as well, just before half time, just after half time, to knock Stuttgart back in terms of confidence levels, because there'd been chances for both sides throughout the first half. Brown with a good chance, Nubel making a couple of smart saves, I think the odd chance for Furyk and Undav. But yeah, Mark, Diomande, he looks like a hell of a player in that current trio of Leipzig up top. It looks quite ominous for many teams that will come up against them.
Yeah, I mean, the stars are really aligning for Leipzig at the minute. I thought this was another really strong performance from them. They put quite a few in a row together really now, haven't they? And I thought they were significantly better than the VfB in the game. As you say, that boy, Jan Diomande, I mean, he was really highly rated, wasn't he? But he kind of came in under a shadow of Bakayoko, really, didn't he? I mean, everyone thought he would be the big signing for PSV, but he's basically knocked him out of the team effectively. And I think, this was his best performance. He was just amazing in this game. He just completely traumatized the VfB, unfortunately for you two. But yeah, I think there's other players that deserve credit too. I think another man that we've not mentioned much is Uwe Draugo as well. I think he was one that he's almost been like a new signing for them in the midfield this season. Obviously signed, I think, a couple of years ago from Schalke 04. But he got badly injured a few times, didn't he? And then, a lot of people were already starting to doubt whether he was going to really achieve his potential. But I mean, this season he's been a machine in that midfield, and he seems to have given more balance to that midfield, which I always felt was a little bit too defensive at times, with Seiwald in there alongside Haidara, as it was in the early part of the season. Now with Baumgartner as well, they've got goals all over the pitch at the minute. I mean, Baumgartner's scoring, Diamande's scoring, Nusa looks really good too. He's starting to show the consistency that was lacking a little bit last season, despite showing moments of promise. But he looks like a player as well. I thought he was really good in the game. Could have scored, was unlucky with that shot just before half time, wasn't he, which went inches wide, curling round. Everything's looking good for them. I think Raum is back to his top form that we kind of saw him drop off a little bit last season as well. He's going to be, looking forward to getting into that Germany national team for the World Cup as well. There's little bad to say about Leipzig at the minute. I really like the balance. The 4-3-3 works a treat. Romulo as well. He's another one that deserves credit because he came in. He's not as high name as the likes of Šeško or Openda, who he replaced, really. But he fits this team well. And he's the kind of guy that likes other people to shine. You know, he's happy to see the likes of Diomande and Nusa, the young guys get the kind of plaudits, and he's just doing a lot of the hard work. And he got his just desserts in this match, capitalizing on a Nubel error after it, still pressing late into that game, wasn't he? He was still pushing Nubel, and he got his reward in the end. That's 4 goals for him. He's been a big part of this, what they're doing at Leipzig at the minute. I think Oli Werner deserves bags of credit as well for what he's done, because, I mean, not all Leipzig fans were super kind of overwhelmed with the appointment when he replaced, when he came in the summer. And obviously kicking off with a 6-0 loss against Bayern Munich is no way to kick off as a new manager. But since then, 7 wins and a draw in the Bundesliga, and he's cruised through both cup ties as well. So, I mean, they are benefiting from not having Europe this season, I will say that much, because Europe is just so exhausting these days, isn't it? Like the 8 group games and the playoff games, it just never ends, does it? Leipzig are probably kind of happy to be out of that in a way. And I think Vizemeister is very much within their grasp this season. I think they're big favourites for it right now. They're not going to challenge Bayern, I'm afraid, but Vizemeister, which is kind of relatively celebrated in Germany, the vice champion. So yeah, they're looking good for that, and potentially a Pokal win as well. That'll be the big goal this season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of interesting comments and questions which I'll throw your way, Cam. First of all, nice easy one. Can Leipzig win the league this season?
No, I think Mark just answered that himself, didn't he? With nobody really is going to challenge Bayern. It feels like a transitional year, really, for the side sort of aiming to be up there. I mean, I know Frankfurt have always established themselves as a selling club, but Leverkusen are very much in that transitional period, and as a Dortmund and as a Leipzig, really. So, yeah, it's Bayern's to win this season, isn't it?
Absolutely. And another comment here from Sard. I saw Werner speak with the team after the game, applauding the players, but he was speaking English. Is that common for a German coach in the Bundesliga?
I guess it would be the case if they have a lot of English-speaking players, won't it? Obviously, not every group of players, speaks German comfortably enough to be able to communicate with the manager and the rest of the side. I mean, just off the top of my head, obviously, you have Romulo, Nusa, obviously the Diomande and the guys we mentioned earlier, none of whom are a native German. So yeah, I'm just guessing it's common sense really as to the amount of foreign players that have in the squad.
Mark, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. As far as I know, there's only one team in the Bundesliga that speaks German, actually, as a first language, and that's Heidenheim, actually, I believe. It's pretty much, because as Cam correctly said, like, so many players come in and, like, they just don't speak a word of German. I mean, some of these guys, they basically come in with maybe just a week or two's advance, and then all of a sudden they're in Germany. So you can't expect them to be communicating in the language with that little time. So, yeah, as far as I know, 17 of the 18, they speak English as like the first language, basically. So like all the trainings are done in English. And I think the German is only done with the media and those kind of things. But they also do English media, I think, as well, don't they? So, I mean, I think most players in the Bundesliga can speak some level of English. As you've seen with like the likes of Glasner, I mean, he speaks really good English. So I think most of the German coaches are pretty well versed in the language. It might not be perfect, but it's good enough to get by, I think, the international clubs.
The Belgian national team speaking English to each other has always been one of my favourite.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
In these multilingual countries, it's quite funny, isn't it, to imagine?
I think the Swiss as well. The Swiss also have
English,
that
would make sense.
Kind of uniting language as well, because they speak like, what is it? Italian, French, German, and some kind of Swiss German, and all kinds of stuff going on there. So they speak
Swiss
English
German,
like a uniting language.
Yeah.
Note to everyone: don't
hopefully
learn Swiss German.
Swiss German, yeah, Schweizerdeutsch.
I think for the game itself, like you say, Leipzig probably deserved it. Stuttgart got themselves a lifeline in the second half. again, going long, and just a little bit of adjustment from Stuttgart. We've seen that in a few games where they've got in behind defences. Nice bit of variation, at least. Well put away by Thiago Thomas. Cam, obviously from your VfB exploits, any kind of passing comments on VfB, or again, like kind of we're saying off air, no need to panic too much.
Yeah, I mean, a loss has been coming, hasn't it? With the unbeaten run, it had to come at some point. And Leipzig are a good side. There's no shame in losing away from home against them, particularly with Stuttgart being unbeaten against them since 2023, heading into this weekend. But no real issues. I mean, it only finished 3-1 because of a catastrophic error from Nubel towards the end. So yeah, I'd say that the result's fair. It's not exactly mass panic because it's been a long week of Stuttgart played last Saturday, didn't they? And then Wednesday in the cup, and then Saturday again. So yeah, a long week and rest and reset.
Yeah, big week ahead for all the teams in Europe, European action this midweek. So yeah, we'll move on and we'll talk about the rest of the games quickly and do some predictions for the European games. Top spiel, Bayern Leverkusen. This game, of course, would have been right on the tip of our tongues in the last 2 seasons, chaps. I think this game, this first half. And we'll talk about the squad, the team lineup changes and what part that played in the overall result, I guess. But it kind of feels like the closing of a chapter of what was a great, a good rivalry for 2 seasons, as in the Xabi Alonso Leverkusen team are long gone, and this Leverkusen team now is just not on the same level. And we saw that in the sense that Bayern, Mark, were obviously able to rotate out, their top guys and still run out 3-0 by halftime. Some good goals with some, good chances, all in between it as well. So I think that just summarizes just how far this Bayern team are away from the rest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete demolition with half a team out there, really, wasn't it? I mean, the surprise was the fact that obviously the big news was that Kane and Diaz were both dropped from the starting 11, obviously to rest them for what is being billed tomorrow night as being the kind of best 2 teams in Europe at the moment, going head-to-head, PSG and Bayern.
Looking forward to that.
So it is understandable, but it was also a little bit of a shock because obviously, as you mentioned, Rory, I mean, Leverkusen was 6 unbeaten domestically against Bayern, actually, and not including obviously the 2 Champions League matches, but they'd gone 5 in the league, and also that cup match around about this time last year as well, which Leverkusen won. So they've definitely had the better of the Bayern in recent years, but obviously a lot of that was due to Xabi Alonso and his plethora of talent that he had in that squad. Let's not forget as well, this is the end of Leverkusen's 37-match Bundesliga unbeaten run away from home as well. Yeah. So, I mean, let's be honest, not many people predicted that we're going to get out of the Allianz unbeaten this time, and that's exactly how it proved to be. I think particular praise has got to go to Leonard Karl, who is just proving to be such a good player. I mean, he's another one that's come from nowhere, really, and he's going to be a star. He's confident, he's cocky a little bit, and he believes he's every bit good enough to be playing in this team. And at the minute, who can argue with him, because he is good, and he just adds even more depth to that ridiculous squad that they've got at the minute. And also credit should go to Tom Bischoff as well, who's been filling in as left back in recent weeks. I thought he had a really good game, played the pass for the first goal as well. Gnabry continues to be excellent. He's just been superb really this season, and he's still doing that sign contract celebration. I feel like he's been doing that for the past 10 years or something, right?
Yeah, he did it when he scored that. Did he score 4 against Tottenham, or was it the hat trick?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did 4 times, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't know why he does it, because everyone thought it was that he wants a new contract, but maybe it's something else. I don't know, because he can't want a new contract every time he scores, But I mean, he has been a revelation this season. He really has. He's reborn. he looked as though he was at the end, really, at Bayern, didn't he? The back end of last season, where he barely played, really, last season. And credit to him. Nico Jackson as well. You know, he came in under a bit of a cloud after not really doing that well at Chelsea. He got criticism from the Bayern board at how much they will pay for him if they activate the fee. I think it's around about 70 or 80 million. But I mean, credit to him. He got the goal. You know, he proved the doubters wrong. You know, he's no Harry Kane. We all know that. But as a backup striker, he's a lot better than what they've had in recent years, isn't he? He really is. And by the look of it, the amount of game time he's getting, they will end up triggering that release clause as well. So he's probably going to be the latest big money sign. I think he has to make, what is it, about 20 or 25 league appearances or something?
It starts though, isn't it? It's not appearances.
Okay.
So I don't think they'll end up doing it.
Maybe it depends on how he does, but I mean, he's done okay so far, in truth. Yeah, obviously all eyes turn to this big game tomorrow night, isn't it? I mean, the whole of Europe's eyes are going to be on that match. I mean, for me, it is the best two teams, which is quite ironic considering, you know, everyone goes on about the Premier League being the best, but the best two teams are both from outside the Premier League, in my opinion, anyway, at the moment. So, yeah, it's going to be a hell of a match, and maybe Bayern can make it 16 out of 16 at the start of the season. Very few are back against them right now, to be honest.
Yeah, Cam, don't suppose we learned too much that we didn't already know on Saturday evening, did we?
No, I mean, the rotation sort of opened the door for those who don't watch the Bundesliga yet think that they have infinite knowledge to be able to speak about it, that calling it a farmers league because Bayern were able to rotate. I mean,
yeah,
let's not forget that the players that they brought in Lennart Karl, as you mentioned, one of the most highly rated youngsters in Germany at the moment, and Nicholas Jackson, who was a regular starter in the Premier League for Chelsea over the last 2 years. Yep. You know, they're not exactly bringing in nobodies, do you know what I mean? So I didn't get all that stick about Bayern rotating at the weekend. And even Tom Bischoff coming in as well, another very highly rated player across the Bundesliga. So, and the fact they did go full strength. I think you saw my post on Twitter about it the other day, Rory, saying the same thing, that, you know, they went practically full strength against Koeln in the DFB Pokal last week. So it did make sense to rotate at the weekend ahead of what is, as Mark says, the two best teams in Europe going head to head.
Yeah.
So we didn't learn too much, but it's another 3 points on the board from what has been an excellent start of the season.
Yeah, there were some interesting comments on socials, weren't there, about, you know, obviously the rotation, but there was also some brilliant common sense ones. I think I reposted one of them, was like, you know, about it, just like, you know, if you don't watch the Bundesliga and you want to make comments on it, then just effectively don't. And, you know, we German Bundesliga followers will just carry on enjoying it and just kind of just piecing it together about how brilliant it is. And
just do your research. It's all people ask for, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I don't go and comment on the Scottish League Two because I don't watch the league, so I have no real right to make proper comments about these things. You know what I mean? It does.
Precisely.
And I think we all get defensive about the Bundesliga for natural reasons, really.
We do, yeah, 100%. Obviously, that's why we do this show, and we do it so passionately as well. Right, so we'll just skim over the rest of the games and do some predictions. So yeah, obviously we had the 0-0 draw with Union and Freiburg, both sharing disallowed goals for different reasons. But yeah, I think you could probably tell from that game that set pieces were always going to be a big part of it, and where predictably chances came. But yeah, the points shared in Berlin there. Yeah, the Friday night game, Mark, obviously you were in attendance. Not the most thrilling, sadly for you. Serhou doing the job after a bit of an FCA mix-up at the back. I'm sure you still had a cracking time though.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing with the Bundesliga. Like, the game doesn't live up to expectations, the atmosphere will, basically. And it was a case of that. I mean, we saw choreo, we saw great pyro displays from Dortmund.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, also the choreo deserves credit as well from Augsburg too.
Mhm.
They're not known as a team that put together too many kind of choreos or pyro displays, but it was a really nice one actually about two ultras who died on the way back from Gladbach 10 years ago, and it said like ultras never die or something like that. So it was quite a nice. Emotional one really from Augsburg. But yeah, the game wasn't good really at all. Dortmund couldn't have played worse and won, to be honest, really. I mean, they barely created anything. They literally had one chance, but Peter and I discussed it on the way back after the game. I mean, when you've got a guy like Guirassy, he finishes those chances, you know. I mean, he literally had one chance in the game, scored it, and Augsburg just barely created anything, really. Just a couple of, okay, there was a good block from Joe Bellingham and a bad miss, really, but it wasn't enough from the FCA, who also produced banners criticizing the rebrand as well, which you're going to see a little bit on the Augustus Vindelicum, which Peter and I investigated in detail at the stadium. They criticized that. And also there were a few cryptic, potentially criticizing Sandro Wagner as well. I think that the banner read something like, "We want to go back to being the grey mouse of the league," or something like that. And I think that pretty much sums up how Augsburg fans feel about the rather controversial redevelopment, especially on the Augustus Vindelicum side as well. I don't know if you've seen that, Rory, but you'll definitely see it on the vlog that Peter's currently producing for us right now.
Yeah, I've seen some bits of it. Sure, it's quite interesting. Aside from that, we had a couple of 1-1 draws. Mainz and Bremen. Mainz not quite getting over the line after a Widmer early goal was outdone by a fantastic Jens Steg volley right at the end, meaning that Mainz are winless at home since February, I think. And then Heidenheim get a great point against Frankfurt. Zivadze, another one of our favourites that we like to give a bit of stick to. So all the strikers are firing back at us, which is great. Although it was
just waiting for Boniface now, Mark, after your comments the other
week.
Yeah. I mean, Peter now agrees that he looks as though he's been on the Wigan Pies too much as well.
So Frankfurt got themselves back into it. Couldn't quite get the winner, although Heidenheim had a goal disallowed as well, but for a very clear offside. So a good point there for the home side as well. So we'll just run through some European quick-fire predictions, as we like to do when we have the opportunity. So if I can actually find them, that would be a good start. Tuesday night, starting off with an early one, Napoli-Frankfurt, chaps. It's not going well in Europe, especially against those trickier teams for Frankfurt. I will kick off with this one and say hopefully it's not a battering. I'll say 2-1 loss for Frankfurt, I think. Mark?
Frankfurt's schedule has been brutal in the Champions League this year, hasn't it? It really has. I mean, they've had Atletico away, Liverpool at home, and now Napoli away. Jesus. But unfortunately, it's going to be a loss, because Napoli at home in Europe and Frankfurt aren't really playing at the best at the minute. So it's going to be a 2-0, I think, this one.
Napoli. I'm gonna echo 2-0. I mean, am I right in saying there's no away fans as well?
Yes, I think
after the incidents with Frankfurt Napoli last time, didn't they? They round of 16 a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big one. The big one, Tuesday night. Looking forward to this. PSG Bayern. Very much probably the best two teams in Europe right now. In Paris, whether that has any weight to it or not. So I will say sit on the fence and be boring 2-2.
I'm going to go for a Bayern win. I think they're in the better shape at the minute. Yeah, I think whether they'll win it at the end, but I think for this particular game, I think we're going to see a Bayern win, a 3-2. But it's going to be a hell of a match, and it's a must-watch basically for all involved.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 3-1 to Bayern. like Mark says, they're in better shape. Really, I know PSG still aren't back to full fitness with the rest of the squad. Desiree Doué went off at the weekend. You know, it's not the same side that won the Champions League a few months ago. Yes, they did dispatch Leverkusen pretty easily the other week, but they still conceded to Leverkusen. I saw a few Bayern fans mentioning that across social media today, that if Leverkusen can score against them, then we can, sort of thing. So yeah, I think just because Paris Saint-Germain aren't up to full speed yet with their squad, I'm going to go for 3-1 for Bayern.
On to Leverkusen next, to go away to Portugal to take on Benfica. Pretty tricky away fixture against a pretty in-form Benfica side. Another test for Casper's boys. I'll hand over to you, Cam, to go first.
1-0 Benfica. Mourinho to do the job. Go 1-0 up early on. See it out.
Mourinho is going to get. He's lost his first two, I think, both in England, hadn't he? Didn't he lose against Chelsea and Newcastle? They didn't look that great in either of those games, but I think Leverkusen, I think they've just got to kind of let Europe go, unfortunately, this year. They've just got to focus on rebuilding. I think they'll lose 2-0. I'll go here for Benfica.
I'll go with the 1-0 scoreline as well, I think. Sadly, Leverkusen to struggle. Then Man City Dortmund, that should be a good game. BVB continue, on their merry way with that little minor road blip of a Classica result. Mark, how do you fancy Dortmund's chances in Manchester?
These Champions League games are just so difficult, aren't they? It seems as though, there's so many hard ones. But do you know what? Dortmund usually raise the game in these kind of matches. I feel as though this kind of match against big teams, top teams in the Champions League is where we see the best of Dortmund these days. So I'm going to try and be optimistic and go for a 1-1 draw here, actually.
Cam?
I can't see that. I think 3-1 to City. Erling Haaland hat-trick.
Hat-trick. If he's not in your fantasy team, you're in big trouble. Dortmund have scored 12 goals in 3 games in their Champions League matches so far. So I think they'll score a few goals against City, but City obviously got great quality. I'll push it to a draw. I'll say 2-2 again. Liking the score draws at the moment. Quickly on to Europa and Conference. We've got Freiburg going to France to take on Nice. I like Freiburg in the Europa, so I don't think they will lose, but I'll say 1-1 draw. Oh, actually, no, Nice are doing terribly in the Europa. Crikey, 2-1 to the away side. My research goes that far.
It's Freiburg are also better in Europe, to be honest. They've always had a good record in the Europa League, and they really push themselves well, considering the budget. Most of the teams that they're coming up against have got much bigger budgets than them, but they always tend to do well. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 as well. I think Freiburg might do the business on Nice in this one. It should be a nice trip to the Côte d'Azur for them anyway. Yeah,
I'm going to go for the same scoreline, 2-1 to Freiburg. They were great against Bologna in the 1-1 draw. They probably should have taken 3 points, and they've been brilliant in their however many home games they've played in the Europa League. Obviously not been the best in the league recently, but I guess that all is forgiven if they go and get 3 points in France on Thursday.
Indeed. Stuttgart, big game for them at home to Feyenoord. After a couple of bad results in Europe, they now need to push themselves back into contention for that top 24 place, which should be very achievable, but they do need to win. I will say they should go all guns blazing for this one. 3-1 home win.
Well, it's a really hard one, an important one as well, actually, for the VfB, because obviously losing the last two in pretty underwhelming spirits, really. And Feyenoord, I've just looked actually now, and they're top of the Eredivisie as well, and they seem to be quite a good side this year. Although Villa did beat them quite easily, didn't they, a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm going to go for a 2-2. I'm sorry, guys, which is going to probably put the VfB into a bit of trouble. But I think the Dutch, they really love playing against German teams. They really, like the Dutch, see the Germans as a massive rival in general. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 here. It should be a good watch, this one. It should be an open game between Bundesliga and Eredivisie. So I'm going to go for 2-2 here.
If it was in Rotterdam, I would have gone for a final win. But because it's in Stuttgart, I just think they have to be on form at home after two, as Mark said, underwhelming performances. Granted, in difficult away games. I mean, Fenerbahce, as we know, all the big Turkish clubs are horrible places to visit as an away team, aren't they? And Basel were always going to be up for it in what is essentially like a Swiss and Southern German rivalry, isn't it? With the vast amounts of Stuttgart fans that went over for it. So yeah, back on home soil, I think it has to be a win. So I'm going to go for 2-0.
Lovely stuff. Finishing off, of course, last but not least, with Mainz Fiorentina in the Conference League. That's a pretty tasty game. Both 6 from 6. 6 points from possible 6 points. Neither side have conceded yet. Fiorentina has scored 5 goals, but Mainz have won both their games 1-0. Tricky. If it was in Italy, I'd be pretty confident that Mainz would go away with nothing, but I will call this as a 1-1 draw.
Well, yeah, haven't Fiorentina in this Conference League every year, it seems? Haven't they been in the final like 2 or 3 times and lost?
Yeah, they lost the final twice in a row, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And then I think last year they got to like the semis or something, didn't they? So like this is a team that really want to win this competition. But this is the kind of game that Mainz would have been looking forward to, because I mean the first 2 were against minnows, really, weren't they? And this is where they'll really feel like they've arrived in a European competition against a very traditional, legendary Italian side from Florence. Yeah, I don't know with Mainz. I think they can raise the game and get a 1-1. I'll agree with you on this one, Rory. I think they will get a point because and they're going quite okay in Europe, but they probably need that kind of bigger performance to really make themselves feel they can go further in the competition, really.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go for 1-1. I think that's 3 out of 3, isn't it? I think Fiorentina have also been very poor in the league this season. To be fair, that they've had a really nice rise in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, back from the mid-table regions to being a European contender once again. But they've started this season dismally, and so have Mainz, really. It's not the game that we probably expected it would have been at the start of the season, to be honest. So, yeah, I think 1-1, and echoing the same thoughts as you, Rory. If it was in Florence, then probably a different outcome.
Yeah,
I've just seen though the Fiorentina are bottom. Sorry to say, bottom of Serie A. I didn't realize. So yeah, it's the basement battle between Germany and Italy, basically. This one.
Yeah, quite strange, isn't it? As Assad mentions in the comments, it's a tough run of games for all our clubs in Europe this midweek. So yeah, we might be struggling on the old coefficient ranking after this set of games. But that brings us to a close anyway. Been a great show, lots to get through as always, and fun to do it with you two chaps. And thank you to everyone that's watched and commented along with some lovely questions and comments. So Mark, over to you to close up for the evening.
Yep, so don't forget that we're not only a YouTube channel, we're also on a podcast as well. So check us out on Spotify and Apple as well. Don't forget we're also on social media too, on X, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. We've put quite a lot of posts on as well from the recent ground hopping bonanza, so go and check that out as well. And then obviously the vlogs will be coming your ways sometime soon, hopefully. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. It was an absolute pleasure as always. Thanks to the guys commenting as well, Saad in particular, also Balam and DM and Left Footed as well. We'll see you again on Thursday for the predictions ahead of the next match week. So see you there, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers all.